always thought it was so funny, Perry Mason and a lot of the TV shows that you see where you've got divorce attorneys and they have private investigators at their beck and call that they use all the time. And they think that the most important thing they can do is establish that the other spouse had an affair. I'm going to tell you a secret. Your judge doesn't really care, or at least not as much as you think. So let's look at how adultery, how infidelity is going to impact your divorce at the end, the bottom line, where it really matters. Number one, how does infidelity affect property division? If you have one spouse that's earning all the money and they're the one stepping out and the other spouse is taking care of the children and staying home, yeah, it's going to have an effect on property division. But keep in mind, by an effect on property division, I mean the other spouse is going to get more, maybe 60%. You're still going to keep a real big chunk of whatever you've earned. It doesn't affect it that much. Now, if both parties have committed adultery, the court doesn't care at all. They don't care at all. You both have, they just don't even want to hear about it, and you're not going to see it reflected in the property division. So let's look at the second area. How does infidelity affect child custody? Zero. That's right. Not at all. It has no effect. The only time in which you're going to see infidelity have an effect on child custody is if the spouse is bringing a string of new partners around the children. Now that the judge cares about, that's a safety issue, right? You've got constant new people that you haven't had an opportunity to vet, and you're exposing the children to them one after another. There it makes a difference. But you've got a stable marriage and one spouse steps out and has an affair, the judge isn't even going to want to hear about that when they're deciding custody. It just doesn't have an impact. And in fact, if you weren't sure your spouse is having an affair, did the children even know? If the children didn't know, the judge doesn't care, not when it comes to custody of the children. Third thing, alimony, spousal support. I've already told you, if you've watched me at all, you know Texas does not really have any workable alimony laws. There's very little available. I guess if you were otherwise going to qualify for spousal support and you committed adultery and are getting divorced because you caused the adultery, it might have a little effect on the judge. Bolton, the breakup of the marriage is a consideration, but adultery, yes or no, is a question? No. How does adultery affect child support? Guess what? Nothing. Not at all. It doesn't even come under consideration. When child support is set, we're going to use Texas guidelines 95% of the time. That other 5%, we might have factors that allow us to go above it, but fault in the breakup of the marriage doesn't matter. Adultery doesn't matter. Child support most of the time is simply going to follow the black and white table set by Texas, and when it doesn't, it's going to be because that child has special needs, not because of the behavior of one of the parents. So at the end of the day, if you're wondering how much does infidelity matter in divorce, well, it might get you to the divorce table, but it's not going to have a whole lot of effect on what happens afterwards. I'm Ruby Bolton, the founding attorney of the Bolton Law Firm. If you have found this video helpful, please click below. We have more information that we'd love to share.